Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Debleaire Snell.
Welcome to Breathe. I'm David Person. That is Pastor Debleaire Snell, speaker-director of Breath of Life.
How you feeling, my brother?
Pastor of the Oakwood University Church. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's another wonderful, cool Monday morning, and with the Breathe family, with David. Kirk is behind the scenes today, but we got some great guests here with us again.
That's right.
Second week in a row.
That's right. That's right. More flowers in the garden.
More flowers in the garden.
Sister Gianna Snell kicked us off with Sister Danita Jones. And good to have you with us. That was some
Always
episodes ago, and now we got more flowers in the garden, or at least an additional flower, and Sister Karlecia Swann. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. All right, so the young people, this didn't come from our generation. The young people have coined this phrase, the friend zone.
The friend zone,
You know, and so some people, and the implication is that, you know, for in their relationships with each other, there's some people that they're just saying basically, you can be a friend, but I don't see you as having any other potential. Right?
Yep. I think that's a perfect categorization of it.
And I don't remember thinking like that when I was young, but I guess maybe we did.
I think we did. So it's funny because I remember growing up kind of in church, and you know, I had been friend zoned, and you know, there are people that were in the friend zone where older folk would be like, yeah, you should, you know, look at that young lady, or they would say, maybe you should consider, and like, we grew up with them, you know, they're just a friend, you know, my sister, that's how you perceive them. And so you don't, I guess it's a person that, you know, you have some affinity towards, but you don't see romantic possibility, at least in this season.
Exactly. And so what we're questioning today is, could that one, that one that you are destined to be with or should be with, could they actually be in the friend zone? You just put them there, and maybe you ought to reconsider that. You see that these days?
Actually, I think it happens. That's all anecdotal, so I can't put a percentage on it. But I do think that there are people that wind up being married or having a partner, you know, a permanent relationship. But in another season, when they knew each other or engaged with one another, you know, even if they kind of thought, okay, he's cute or she's nice looking, at a different season or time in life, they were probably in the friend zone. Now, just in full transparency, you know, John and I, we were campus brother and sister, you know, while we were.
I remember that,
So, I mean, there was, now again, I'm a couple of years older than her. So we were here, I was a senior, she was a freshman. And so I didn't look at, I thought she was attractive, but I didn't look at her in that way. But I went to Andrews to do my master's work. And by the time she came, this was like several years later, to finish her undergrad, I don't know. It's like something was lifted from my eyes. I just saw it differently. I can't really explain it. I was just like, so you know, so there was one season where we were friends, but then there was another season it became something different.
Before we bring the ladies into this conversation, I'm dying to know, how did you in your mind make that transition from, oh, she's my campus sister, to I want to holler at you.
Well, it's I don't know that it was an active, like, all right, decision. I just think, you know, she had, you know, we had both matured. A number of different factors had kind of run their course in terms of different people we were involved with, and we were both kind of free and available at the same time. And I just think at that point it was just like, oh, okay, So, you know, kind of the way I saw her as, you know, as a freshman, now she's, you know, kind of 21, 22. I was kind of like, okay, all right, well, you know.
She's older.
Yeah, she's older. Yeah. So
now it's not weird.
There was a lot of things, I guess, that coalesced.
Was it a difficult
providentially.
transition?
No, it wasn't a difficult transition. It was not a difficult
You
transition.
said that very quickly.
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because honestly, but because of the friendship, I'm not trying to bore, but just we would just spend time together doing the most random things. Like Gianna would just ride with me to get my oil changed. You know what I'm saying? We would just go to the library, and I ain't gonna lie, we would not get no studying done. We'd just be talking and kind of cutting up and so on and so forth. So she was kind of like my best friend, but she was a female. But like I said, as certain things kind of evolved, and again, I always thought she was attractive, but once kind of certain things had run their course, and I guess the timing was right, and I guess there was kind of like a veil lifted, I think, from both of our eyes. I don't know if it's spiritual or maturity, whatever it was. It was not. It was actually really clear once I had really settled on some things.
That you had to take her out of the friend zone.
I had to take her out of the friend zone.
Yeah.
Well, no, she was out. It was just more like, I just got to make a move now. Just got to make my intentions known. Yeah.
So, do you remember ever being friend zoned or friend zoning somebody?
I have
You can
the
change
personality
the names to
type.
protect
No, well,
the
right.
innocent if you need to.
I
or
will
the
say
guilty.
I have the personality type that, and I don't know if it's theater or just how I was raised, where I don't even make the effort. Like, people just have a tendency to be comfortable around me, and so my whole life I was friend zone because that's just Danita, because Danita can cut up, and it's almost like I was never actually seen as like the girl of the group because that's just Danita.
Okay.
I was funny when people bring up the topic, is like, oh, can men and women be friends? By the time I met PJ, he was meeting my guy friends. They're just like, that's just Danita. And so my perspective was a lot different because it was just like, oh, this is one of my friends, I don't think I ever had the opportunity to friend zone a person because the people I was around never saw me like that. And so by the time, if I was dating a person, they came in with the intention of, I like you, I want to date you.
It's either this or that.
Right. It was never like I look up one day and I'm like, oh my gosh, this person is, it wasn't like that. Except for Paul Jones.
Yeah.
We started off as like almost the exact same. We were much younger. We were both 15, 16. We started off as being really great friends. We were planning programs together at church.
Okay.
Not getting anything planned because we're laughing and talking.
Yep.
Our parents are coming in the dining room and be like, y'all didn't plan nothing, and we've been there for hours.
Yeah.
As we grew, we started dating from 16 to 18. We broke up. And then when he came back into the picture, it started the exact same way. We were laughing, talking. He'd come over, we'd chat, we'd go, we'd chill out, we'd have fun. And then it was just like, this is what I want. Because I think that the greatest marriages and relationships start with you like hanging out with a person.
Yeah.
Because that's all marriage is. Like, some people will make it feel like, it's like when the pandemic happened and everybody was stuck at home. I told somebody, I was like, I cannot think of a better person to be stuck with than #the boyfriend. Like, we had so much fun. But it started off being really good friends first.
All right, so I hear you saying that that you did make a transition in your head at some point, though, right?
I always thought that he was cute first.
Oh.
And but when I met him, and he would completely disagree, and this is a point of like, you clearly don't remember correctly.
I side with you, PJ. I side with you, PJ. I stand with you.
He was upset. He came to Huntsville because his father became the pastor of the church.
Right.
And he was upset that they were moving. So the first time I met him, I thought he was a jerk because he refused to talk to any of the kids at the church because he was upset that he had to move to Huntsville. It took a while for us to actually even warm up to each other. So even though I thought he was cute, in my head, I'm just like, I'm not like, ugh. That's literally what I thought about him. And then the relationship grew because we were almost kind of like, we saw each other every day. Our parents were friends. And so we were around each other a lot. And we just began to realize that we had more in common than we realized. And then just literally, he was one of my closest friends growing up. And then it just, it is to where it is now. But I think that's the best way for something like that to start.
I guess what I'm trying to get to before I get to Karlecia, when did you in your mind unfriend zone him? And how did that happen?
I think that would incriminate me, David, because I may or may not have been in another relationship.
Oh, Lord.
The statute of limitations
It's
has
run out.
It's
run out. Yeah.
I will say this. I remember starting to have a crush on him and thinking this may not, I didn't want to quote unquote ruin the relationship. But I remember after I was free from the person I was dating, we went on a walk. And this goes back to, we were talking a couple of weeks ago, I think, or last week, when we were talking about the wanting to feel safe.
Yeah.
We went on a hike on a church picnic, and we were walking, and I was standing on the edge of something, and he came up behind me, and I slipped a little bit, and he put his arm around me and pulled me back. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he said to me, he clearly had game, even at 16. He said to me, I'd never let you fall. And I was like, that's what did it.
That was
I was like,
DJ.
oh
But he
my
was the one who
gosh.
probably pushed me a
Right,
little.
exactly. Pushed me a little bit. But it was the idea of like,
He pushed you
right.
so he can catch you. Yeah.
But it was the idea of feeling protected
Yeah.
and having so much in common
Nice.
and being able to laugh with him and feeling like we could talk for hours and it felt like 20 minutes. All of that kind of compounded. But that was the moment where I was just like, oh, this guy. Oh, this guy. Yeah. And then, here we are.
All right, Karlecia, your turn.
I'm tripping because I believe I'm currently in somebody's friend zone.
Okay.
I have to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not married. So, I must be in someone's friend zone right now. So I don't know much to add. I'm hey, I have friends, and I'm thinking of all those friends now, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Nothing's clicking for me.
Nothing's cooking for you.
So
If they're in the friend zone.
All still friend zoned.
All still friends. Zoned
yeah,
over there. So,
Yeah.
So I do think sometimes friend zones, so they can shift, I think, suddenly, meaning there is this occurrence, flashpoint moment, or opportunity to see them in a different light. So, for instance, let's just say, you're kind of this guy, friend zone, but for whatever reason, you get to see him doing what he's good at. And I think that can kind of shift things a little bit. Or, you have this, lady friend, but for whatever reason, you're down and out, and she can show great support in said season, and that can kind of shift things. So I think, how you see them in this season, it may be fine, it may be appropriate, but I think that, there can be some things, is something as simple as a slip and somebody catches you, that can kind of illuminate your thinking or cause you to see them differently. Or even sometimes it's just that person can be that person all along.
Yeah.
But the maturity that has to come is yours. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, man, you are just thinking too small or too limited or too narrow. And it's just kind of like you reach a point, you're just like, oh, snap. What was I thinking? Like, I think everybody kind of has a point in your life when you look at kind of maybe who you were, what you're entertaining, and you kind of like, dang, what was I going? Was I just going through something? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was going on? You know what I'm saying? At that particular season, just because there are certain things that were very foreseeable when you kind of look back on it. So I just think that it can happen really suddenly, without great effort. I just think that, whether it's the Lord, as I say, removing the scales from your eyes, or you're just getting a chance to see them in a different light, or you finally grow into some things where you're realizing, like, those are the values and virtues that I should have been looking for all along.
I also think one of the foundational, I'll say, concepts that we've been sort of dealing with today is the idea that as a baseline, whether you're dating or whether you end up getting married, that person should be a friend.
Yeah, certainly.
Sure.
So there's really nothing wrong with even starting in the friend zone.
Right.
And maybe moving from there, even though, as Karlecia said, maybe they all just need to stay in the friend zone. But I think you would agree, though, that that a good romance
For sure.
really ultimately is going to be, or healthy, let's say a healthy romance is going to be rooted in a good friendship.
For sure. I agree. I also believe or feel like you should also pay attention to those placeholders that may prevent you from looking at the friend zone.
Tell it. Yeah.
Oh, define the placeholder.
Yeah.
For the audience.
Listen, put them out. Sis, go ahead.
So placeholders are those individuals that we take up time with no intention of any future, any permanency, any relationship. Just
kicking.
They're just holding space to fulfill whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's giving away trade secrets.
Yeah.
Listen, I may not come back, so let me just give it all.
Give it all.
So that when you have placeholders, that your time and your efforts are there, and so you don't see anything else. So you could be missing out on what is really for you because you're taking up time over here.
Yep.
So I'm hearing you say that maybe deep down inside, a placeholder is a person like, there's really no future here.
Not deep down inside, like we know.
No, it's not deep.
It ain't deep. We know almost immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the same on the opposite
we don't
side.
want to be lonely, or because we want to have somebody to hang out with, we just
And it could be for a variety of reasons: financial, loneliness, just companionship. Just
It can be sexual too.
Let's keep it real.
Yeah,
we're gonna keep it real.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. No, I'm not.
No, but the pastor said it, so let's go on and keep it real.
What he
Said.
What he said. Yes. So that therefore you could miss, looking over in the friend zone because you're busy over here.
I think another issue too is when for a lot of women, that friend zone turns into more of like a glass case. So you know how sometimes you have these things on the wall if you go into a corporate building and it says break in case of emergency, right? So we friend zone this guy who we know is incredible.
Yep.
We know he's great. I'm gonna put him behind this glass, and he gonna stay there.
And if everything else
falls through,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come and break the glass and come and pick him up. There are guys that are willing to be the glass case friend because they recognize, one day she's gonna see. There are other men are like, I'm not doing this, so you're not gonna put me back here. And then he goes and he finds someone that finds him worthy and finds him, And the woman that put him back there is angry. Like, I thought there was because you purposely put him back here. You
risky.
purposely friend zoned him because you thought, well, if I find something better, then that's just my friend, blah, blah, blah. As opposed to just going
what
for it.
What you just said, though, it almost sounds to me like, Danita, that's an automatic concession that you really kind of know you probably should be with that guy, or at least be giving it serious consideration.
I think it's a maturity thing. Like I think what we talked about it before. It's like I think it really has to do with maturity. If you, I'll say this: if you put a guy and say, well, if nothing else works out, I'll come back to, I always say, I use Trevor whenever I'm doing workshops. I'll come back to Trevor. The issue with that already is if you think that he's worthy of being the guy,
that's my point.
You're not mature enough to be with him. He deserves better than you.
Correct.
If you're willing to friend zone him to go just in case.
That is correct.
So this right here proves that you weren't ready. Now, and that to me is the other side of friend zoning. Like there's some guys where you and I think too, it's almost dangerous to friend zone a guy if you know he likes you.
Yeah.
Like, as I matured and got older, and it's really weird where jokers start showing up when you're in relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And you recognize that even though you don't find that person attractive and you don't want to be with that person, but that is their sole intent, we can't be friends. Because I don't have that. I don't desire that from you. It's wrong of me to put you in a situation where you're going to continue to have hope. Because there's no reason. It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Oh, can we be friends? We cannot, because I know what your intent is. And it's never going to happen.
Wow.
So I think friend zoning is a dangerous game to play if one or the other person is in that space where there's that hope that one day it's going to turn into something
there's
different.
also an arrogant young man that does something similar to what you described, who feels like, okay, I'm not done having fun yet.
Yes.
And I want to kind of keep her on ice. Maybe he doesn't put her in the friend zone, but like, so he kind of tries to keep enough engagement so she stays involved. But I still want to get it out of my system, so to speak. And it's a dangerous game. It's a gamble risky. Because there's going to be somebody that sees the value in that young man, that young woman. I don't say just young men. There's some older men who do it too, but I just think that it's a flawed approach because if you know that's the one, then you need to just govern yourself accordingly.
Right. Wow. Well, what do you say to young ladies? Do you ever talk to them about this friend zoning and some of these dynamics?
So the age group that I work with, for me, is just they're too young to be looking for relationships. You know, for me.
But that doesn't mean they're not looking, though.
That's true. But my conversations with them is more or less about finding things that they enjoy, you know, building their character and not necessarily leading towards relationships. But when it does come up, they're very toxic. These girls, I'm serious, they are really in some adult stuff that I have not even experienced as an adult. Just the whole cheating.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, cheating?
Let me tell you,
At 12?
middle school drama. I tell you, it's incredible.
Yeah, you know, and just this one young lady, she created a whole Instagram page just to pretend that she was someone else to check his Instagram to see who he was talking back and forth to.
Yes.
Insane.
That's a lot. Wow. That's a lot. And literally, she was 12.
Whoa.
She's 12. Yeah. She's 12.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So I'm not navigating her through that. I'm trying to show her that you don't have to you don't have to do that. Like, he's just not who you should entertain at this point.
That's a lot of energy and thought.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
But that's learned energy too.
Right, because does your mom know that
Yeah,
you're going
that's
through
learned
this?
energy.
And she says yes. And so I'm like, okay, so you have to kind of back it up to the parents.
On my end as a teacher, when I used to teach middle school, you would meet these kids. You'd be like, why are you on this level thinking? And then you meet mom at the parent-teacher conference. You're like, oh, okay. You're encouraging this at home because this is how you operate in this sense. This is how you're toxic behavior, and it bleeds over into your kid. Absolutely. Yeah. So.
All right, we're out of time. Final thoughts.
I think it's so funny when you think of like zones, like construction zones, or crime scene zones. Yellow tape is often used as like a cautionary thing to place over it because it can be very dangerous if it is not managed well. And I think friend zoning is the same way. I think that intentional friend zoning can be very dangerous if it is not managed correctly. Okay. I think that people should be able to be friends and create the boundaries that are necessary in order to maintain those friendships. But I think when you intentionally friend a person with the understanding that either you are attracted to them romantically or the other way around, and you're just creating this space for a just in case, that actually can be very detrimental to any relationship you develop after that. And it's unfair, and you should know that when that is something that happens, if your intent is to come back to it when you think you're ready, that you are not mature enough to be able to be in that space or handle that situation. So it should be guarded very carefully in how you move forward with that. So.
Karlecia?
Well, my closing thoughts will be more of a personal thought. If I have friend zoned you, make yourself known. You might be the one. And I just didn't know.
This
make
public service announcement is brought to you by Breath of Life.
I'm just saying.
Karlecia's amazing is what we're saying.
She is amazing. She's amazing.
Send your inquiries to Breath of Life.
Inquiries to Breath of Life.
Forward them.
Forward them to
yeah.
If you want to make a trip to Huntsville,
right.
I'll set up a potluck.
There you go. We got you.
Yeah, we need to do like a singles Breath of Life event, though.
Wow.
I want to, I won't call it singles. I don't want to add pressure, but just a gathering of some
Yeah,
sort.
a gathering.
A gathering.
You just have to make sure that there are equal amounts.
Men and
Equal.
women.
Yeah, because that happens sometimes in singles events. It's like all the
all
women
the
show
women
up,
show
and there's that one guy that needs to be friend zoned.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Like they
ouch.
need to be.
Ouch. Ouch.
Yes.
Or David just being there and have his choice. It'd be like he a Golden Corral.
Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to the buffet.
Welcome to the buffet. Just in closing, I would just, maybe if I can tier this in terms of age, young people embrace friendship. Don't rush to the romantic, physical, emotionally heavy part first. I just think that Danita talked about it, where you can just have a good time. You can be transparent. You can remove your armor and your facade, your costume, and you can be at ease with that person. Those are invaluable traits to have. And then the other thing I'll probably just say is, I'm not saying go fishing in the friend zone. I would just say, just don't say never. Don't restrict it. Don't lock the door, because you just never know how things may move. You may be in a certain season now at 25 and at 35, you're looking at the world differently. Or you at 35 and, you've matured, that person matured. At 45, you reconnect. So I'm just saying, just be careful about never, as they say, just never say never. If you see them that way and there's no attraction there, you can't force it. But I'm just saying, don't slam the door shut.
All right. All good advice, whether you are in the friend zone, have been friend zoned, are friend zoning, or or maybe you know somebody who fits into one of those categories. God bless you. It's hard out here on these streets. It's hard out here on these streets. So God bless you, and don't forget, no matter where you are in that process, you can still stop, pray, and breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Debleaire Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.